I mean, everything is scary. Going on a date is scary. Getting married is scary. Having kids is scary. Going in traffic these days is scary. I mean, I go for hikes in the woods. There's bear around here. Hiking in the woods is scary, but you just have to do it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Test, Optimize, and Scale. Joined here by Dwan Bent Twyford, America's most sought-after real estate investor. Uh, Make sure to check out the Dwanderful podcast if you're not already an audience member. Dwan is the co-founder of Investors Edge University. Going to be speaking about real estate. Going to be talking about investment opportunities. Going to be talking about growth as a whole. Dwan, thanks for taking the time to join the podcast here.
Hey, thank you, Jason, for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Likewise, I've been looking forward to it. And with my understanding of your background, but let's familiarize the audience a bit. What got you here today? How did you get involved in the world of real estate and podcasting?
Well, so podcasting obviously came really late. So
Yeah.
many years ago, I was 30 years old. I was married, an 8-month-old child. My husband and I had a really unexpected split, and I lost my house in foreclosure, got my car repossessed, like all the things. And I was like, dang, what am I gonna do? I got an 8-month-old kid. I'm 30 years old. I have no is in the '80s. It was in the '80s. So in the '80s, I was all in on the party scene, working at nightclubs, like, throwing cocaine, popping Quaaludes, partying, like the whole wild, crazy '80s. I was right there on the disco dance floor. So now I was like, okay, now I have a child. I have no skills whatsoever. I don't want to go back to waiting tables or whatever. But just to tell you how bad of a waitress I was, I actually got fired from Denny's. Third shift. Third shift, 3 in the
Love
morning.
that.
I was like, who fires anybody at 3 o'clock in the morning when shift ends at 6?
Strict program over there, I guess.
Well, I used to hear words like insubordinate. I say, no, I'm not insubordinate. I just have a lot of thoughts, and I always would try to tell people how they could run their business better, from my unexperienced point of view. And apparently, business owners and managers don't really appreciate that so much. So I was just that, it's that moment, like it's your like come to Jesus moment. I think everybody has one somewhere in their life. And I thought, well, I can try to work for myself, which I really secretly always wanted to do. Or I could get a job. And if I get a job now, I'll be basically 50 by the time she's out of high school and all that. And I thought, at 30, I was like, God, 50, I'll be an old woman, you know? And now I'm 66. I'm like, 80 doesn't really sound that old anymore. So your perception of time changes. So I met some
Line keeps
people and
moving
they said,
further
we buy
back.
houses, we fix them up, we sell them. And I just thought fix up meant decorate. So I thought, okay, I'm a good decorator. How hard could it be? You fix it up, you decorate it, you sell it. I'm going to do that. And back in the day, Google didn't exist. So I used to drive up to the courthouse in Palm Beach, Florida, and handwrite all the foreclosures and use that big map book and take my baby and go door knocking with a baby on my hip and just talk to people and say, hey, I understand you're losing your house. I also lost mine. I feel like this is a calling for me to help other people. Let's work together. And I lived in every house. I lived in the foreclosure, rehabbed it while I lived in it, and sold it and moved and sold it and moved. And I did that until I started kindergarten. So I probably moved 8, 9 times. And then I was like, there's just got to be an easier way. And then a real estate investing group that, the REIA, Real Estate Investors Association, one of them opened up in Boca Raton, Florida. Of course, we used the classified section of the papers back then. I saw this ad, real estate investor meeting. I thought, oh, hey, I'm going to go to that. There's got to be other people besides me in South Florida doing this. And there was about 80 people there, which I was so thrilled. And they were all men except for me and one other girl. So when I first saw it, it was like, do women not do this? Is this not a woman? Like, girls don't invest? Like, I don't understand why there are no women here. So the one girl, we talked, we had lunch, formed a partnership, and kicked butt for a decade, working together. And then we got married, and we each wanted to work with our husbands. And so I've been investing now for 35 years.
Wow.
It's so long.
You've seen ups and downs in the market, seen different
Everything,
types of companies, individuals emerge in the
everything.
space, seen it all.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy because I guess just for me, maybe because of the fact I lost the house and had my car repoed, I had all that stuff done. I've always kind of had a heart to work with people that are like on the foreclosure side of things. So I always tell people, like the things that are public record at the courthouse are the foreclosures, the divorces, the probates, the bankruptcies, the people that haven't paid taxes, and uh, landlords that haven't paid their real estate taxes. So I always tell people I just focus on like the 6 things. And then whatever the market's doing, it's like, Jason, like if it's a good market, people are still getting married, getting divorced, people are still dying, people are still getting job transfers. If it's a terrible market, those things are still happening. So I have just made it a point to like stay with the people that are in distress so that the market doesn't make any difference to me. No matter how good or bad the market is, people are still going, life is still happening. We're dying, we're getting married, we're getting divorced, we're in foreclosure. Like it's the same. It's been the same for 35 years. So I honestly had just kind of built my niche around the people in distress. So when the markets are good or bad, I don't feel like I've ever been affected by a market.
Recession proof, I think they call it, where whether the market's up, it's down, people are still getting married, divorced, bankruptcies, taxes.
People are
They're,
still
they're
dying. And,
still having
in
life happen.
Florida, people die and they leave their house to some kid in New York. I don't want that house in Florida. And so I don't know. I guess to me, I feel like it is recession proof. Be like, oh, come on. I'm like, listen, I'm not a shiny object person. So I'm not going to go for, oh, here's the next new shiny object, reverse engineering. Okay, that's just wholesaling. Like, you don't need to slap a new label on something to make it sound like something because there's nothing new under the sun. All the things, all the land trusts, the deeds, every owner financing, everything has been done since back in the days of the Bible. Like Rockefeller, I think, did the very first subject too, and they call it something, some Nova something now. It's like, ugh, people, this is subject to. Like seriously, just stick with the basics. So
Sure.
yeah, it's like I feel like I don't mean to sound like braggy about it, but I think that I just stick in that niche of my people I choose to work with. The markets, I have never felt affected by a market.
So it's a great place to focus because you have that stability. There's always going to be foreclosures, good market, bad market. Can you talk to us a bit more about the numbers? What does it look like for a successful, foreclosure uh, purchase, investment? What are some of the metrics that you're playing for?
Well, I mean, obviously that's going to depend on if someone is buying rentals, like my husband and I are
Mhm.
working in a town called Clinton, Iowa, which is where he's from. And they're doing a downtown like re-beautification. And we decided we were going to buy a building. And now 28 buildings later, or like rejuvenating an entire downtown. Something I would never even thought the words would come out of my mouth 5 years ago, and now I've got 28 buildings. So, but like as far as wholesaling, if someone's going to do something, I always say, listen, wholesaling is the most basic thing. You're not going to lose any money. If Even if you do every single thing wrong, if the deal closes, you're still going to make money. You're not dipping your life savings. So a wholesale, you're gonna make 10% of whatever the house is. If it's a $500,000 house, you're gonna make 50 grand on one deal. If it's a $1 million house, you're gonna make 100,000. If it's a $50,000 house, you're gonna make 5 grand. If it's a rehab, obviously, whatever you spend in rehab, like if you spend 100, you expect to make 100 back. Like that's kind of the formula. I spent 100 rehabbing, so I should make 100 back. That's kind of how like rehabbers think. Subject twos, they're always easy. Just take them over, rent them out, owner finance them, whatever you want to do. They bring in a little bit of monthly income. Commercial buildings, I'm all for down for people doing commercial, but it's like, well, do your research, get your cap numbers, get all your
Let's
things.
go.
And what are you buying the building for? What's in the building now? Does it have, tenants? Does it not have tenants? What do you need to do to make it better? Da, da, da. So we kind of dabble in everything. But more in the last 5 years, we've been focusing on all of our buildings because we ended up with so many buildings.
Mhm.
And you know what's
It
fun about that,
sounds like it.
Jason, is like, well, so my husband is from Clinton, Iowa, right? And it's a little town like right on the river, and you cross a little bridge, and like there's Illinois. So we've been married almost 25 years. So his school, every 5 years, had like a really big reunion. And I mean, like everybody comes.
Everyone.
My school has a reunion, 50 people come. There are 200 people. They're big. So we start going to these reunions and driving down through the old downtown. And you could
Okay.
see there was like a Sears and there was a Penny's and there was this and this. A lot of it was boarded up. And after like the second time, I said, well, this is a 10-year spread. I'm like, why aren't they doing anything? I've seen so many little towns just get like rejuvenated and they're just little hubs with everything, breweries and food and alcohol and antique malls and boutiques. And so we're like, we should just call like the housing board and see if they have some kind of program. And then we're like, oh no, we find out they have a whole giant, like bring back down Clinton, a whole thing with grants and money and for facades and roofs and windows and so much money. And it's in an opportunity zone. The entire downtown's in an opportunity zone. It's like, okay, if we own it for 10 years and we sell it, there's no capital gain. So that's good. And they have so many things to give away. If they don't use up all the grants, they can't get new ones. So we're like, we'll buy a building. And like 2 weeks later, this lady named Shirley says, hey, I heard about so and so's building. I have three. Would you like to have my three? We're like, oh no, we really can't. And I said, only if you would owner finance them 100%. She's like, well, I'm 78 years old. I'm tired of living in the cold. So she refinanced these buildings. She gave us 100% financing, owner financing with no money down. Another month goes by, someone says, hey, I heard you bought Shirley's buildings. I've got some buildings over here. My husband's been dead about a decade. They're just kind of sitting there. They're paying the butt. Do you want my buildings? I'm swear to you, through the word of the mouth, we ended up with all these people calling. I said, well, they're in distress.
Yeah.
They're not in foreclosure, but they're in a distressed situation. They're all in their late 70s. Their husbands are dead. That building's just sitting there vacant. And they're like, I'll just give them to you and you can pay me if you'll just take them. So again, distress. So we're like, yeah. And then we bought another one, and we bought another one. And then we found out that so it's the downtown is like 3 blocks wide and 3 blocks. It's this little 9 blocks. And everyone in this area, we pay the taxes into a fund to do things downtown, to bring people downtown and to, have festivals and, little downtown stuff. And, so we have to vote for everything, and you get 1 vote per parcel. So I'm a big Hallmark girl, and I was like, "Hey, listen, let's do Christmas in July." "Oh, we did that 10 years ago. It didn't work out, so nobody would do it." I was like, "Hey, we should have, like, a Winterfest." "Oh, we tried that, and it didn't work out." So then after, like, 5 suggestions, I was like, "Listen." I went to the mayor. I said, "How many votes I need to have to just control the entire vote?"
Hmm. Smart.
He goes, "You need 28 parcels." I told my husband, "Go find us 8 more parcels." And now there's no voting. It's like, okay, what did the Twyfords want to do? I'm like, I can't handle the small-minded people. We need to do stuff. So
So
I just
you're able
became a
to.
gangster and took over the vote. So now Bill and I are
There
like,
you
hey,
go.
now we have a Christmas fest, a winter fest. We
Yeah.
do like this thing on Thursdays. We do music on the avenue. They block off the street. It's a live band, food trucks, the whole thing. And
Nice.
it's every Thursday all summer. Like 2,000 people come to the little downtown. Like, oh my gosh, look how much it's grown.
Good audience.
So that's kind of my fun thing I'm doing right now. That's my side project.
Love how you're passionate about this. Hearing you
It's so
talk
much
about
fun.
rehabs, hearing you talk about, you know, uh, subject twos, uh, everything around commercial and opportunity zones. If someone's tuned in and saying, hey, I really need to start doing this for myself, or I'm going to diversify my investments a little bit, where would you recommend they get started? What type of properties, what type of asset classes should they really be looking at?
You know, what's a good thing, and a lot of people don't know it, is you can just Google like opportunity zones in the state of California. It'll show the entire state and every neighborhood that's an opportunity zone.
Mhm.
So, an opportunity zone, so like in Clinton, you may have 5 streets with all single family houses, and this one street's super run down. So, the city will designate it an opportunity zone to try to get an investor to come in and fix it up so it doesn't like bring down the rest of the area.
Right.
And I didn't know anything really. I mean, until we started this project, I didn't really know anything about opportunity zones, but they're in neighborhoods, they're in commercial. They'll be like this side of the street is and this side of the street's not. And the purpose is to get investors to buy. If you hold it for 10 years, there's no capital gains. And even if it's a house versus a commercial building, there's grants, there's things for roofs, there's anything on the outside, facade, new siding, doors, like, and it's free money. So I'm like, all right, so if I'm going to buy a single family house on this street, but this one's an opportunity zone, I'm going to buy it over there because I'm going to get a bunch of incentives and I'm gonna make more money on it that way. So I always tell people just honestly, if I was brand new, I would start with whatever my idea is, whether it's a storage unit or a building or a house. I would just start in an opportunity zone because you can never go wrong. And all the things that are in line, like you were talking about, like taxes, all these different things, everything
Yep.
that's in place, it's in place. It's 10 years, it's there. So as long as you write out the 10-year thing, then, but for me, we just keep everything, so
And you find it's more aggressive, less competitive in different areas? And we're talking about Iowa. I'm here in California. You're in Colorado. Are there certain markets that they should pay extra attention to right now?
Um, no, I not really. I know, like, in Oklahoma, they're, like, encouraging people to squat in these houses, and if you squat for 2 years, they'll give you a deed to the house because there's so many
Wow.
hundreds of vacant houses, hundreds and hundreds, that they're telling people, "If you'll move in and live there for 2 years, we will give you a special warranty deed and you can own the house." Not like squatting in, like, someone's house that's on vacation. These are, like, ratty houses that are, like, falling down, and the city doesn't wanna put the money in to tear them down or do whatever, so they're, like, encouraging people, like, "If you'll live here for 2 years, we'll get in and no homeowner, nobody shows up, we'll just deed you here's a house."
It's
And
wild.
so there's just it's crazy. And like in these little opportunity zones, like these little houses, and I know the numbers are so different in Colorado as well as in California, but you can spend like 30,000 for like a little 3 bed, 1 bath, like 30 grand. And those stupid things went out for $900.
Wow.
It's crazy. So, and opportunity
Yeah.
zones are everywhere in the entire country. Just Google it. You will be stunned. So it's the government or the city saying, "Hey, this area is getting run down before we have to just go demolish a bunch of houses or it becomes the hood or it becomes the gang area. Let's get some investors to fix this up." So
Mhm.
they count on people like us who will come in and go, "Hey, I'll take these 3 houses side by side. I'll take that challenge on. I'll fix those houses up." So they're kinda counting on us to do it.
It's so crazy to hear because the word squatter has, a different annotation here in California. In Los
It does
Angeles, I think the
everywhere.
average home is over $1 million now. And in some neighborhoods, that's tear down, price tag levels. So to hear about some of these price points, I imagine it's very attractive to many viewers, listeners. Do you recommend that they do this on their own and invest as an individual into these types of properties, into these types of opportunities? Is it better to
They should
group
work
together and
with
have more buying power?
they should work with me.
Tell us
I
more
will
about
teach
that.
them how. They should
Sure.
work with me. I'll help them. I'll teach them. I'll mentor them.
I'm a big believer in teams and working with experts, people who've been down the path that you're going to go to next, and being able
Yeah.
to, point out things that could save time, save money. Talk more about that. What does your program consist of?
So basically, we do all. We have a thing called the apprentice training, and I am really passionate about teaching people that are brand new, like fresh meat. They haven't done anything yet. They haven't been to 10,000 seminars. They're not like, I don't have to retrain them. They're like, hey, Dwan, can you help me? My wife and I are tired of working at this job and we want to be free and we buy some houses and fix them up and sell them. I'm like, yeah, come on board. I'll help you. I'll teach you. Show me what you want. But the thing about the sticker shock, when I moved here, so I moved here 25 years ago. And in South Florida, like in the Fort Lauderdale, Delray Beach area, you can still buy a pretty decent house for like $75,000.
Mm.
Now I moved to Denver. Bill and I decided to go out door knocking one day. I want to see what Denver's all about. And he's like, oh yeah, this house over here, it's $400,000. And I was like, what? It's only this big. It's like a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. The hell's that? 400 grand. I had the biggest sticker shock ever moving here from what I'd been doing. Now everything in Florida is expensive now too. But
Yep.
I just like I couldn't get over the prices. I was like, I don't even understand how it's possible. And now, even in Denver and like the hood, those are $575,000 and they're in crappy shape. And I know in California, like a million to tear down.
Yep.
So then when people go, "Oh, I can go to Clinton Island and buy a whole house," like, I was like, "The whole house, the yard, like, the whole thing for 30 grand? Like, what is that?" So I
Hmm.
think one thing people should, not be afraid to invest outside where they live.
Yes.
Because, like, in Denver, I can buy a $500,000 house that'll bring me in $2,500 a month. I can take the same 500,000 and go to Iowa and get 10 houses that'll bring me in $1,000 a month. So, people are afraid to invest outside of their backyard. Well, I
How
don't
many
have people
people are
there.
doing this?
It's like
You know
hire
how?
a person, hire a
Yeah.
property manager. Like, it's not rocket science, hire somebody.
And you meet a lot of these investors. You go to a lot of the seminars. You lead them, of course, as well. How many people are doing this? What percentage of people are investing outside of their communities in the U.S. and seeing that upside?
Honestly, I couldn't give you a real answer on that. I know that every single place that I'm asked to come and like do a speech or a 2-day workshop or whatever, I always ask everyone in the room, how many of you invest outside of your backyard? And no one raises their hand.
Mm.
So I'm like, you got to expand your thinking because, like, for
Yes.
California, if I was going to buy a rental, I'm spending $2 million. If that
Yep.
thing says vacant for 6 months, can I eat that cash? Can I afford to do that? I could go to Dayton, Ohio and buy 10 for the same money, and if 2 are vacant, the other 8 carry it, it's okay. So, so I'm not personally a big fan of buying, even here at super expensive houses unless you can afford to carry it if it sits for a minute.
Sure.
If you have a bunch
Able
of little
to be
ones and a couple
comfortable.
sit, you're like, no big deal. These are paying for that. And like with our commercial, one of the buildings that we bought, it's an entire city block. And
Mhm.
downstairs is commercial, then it's residential, then it's offices, and the top is a restaurant. Well,
Okay.
that building has 4 different ways of bringing me income. So
Mhm.
I keep,
Revenue
if
streams.
some of the vacants empty downstairs or commercial, I still got the apartments. If a few apartments are empty, I've got the offices. So it's got like 4 different types of things in the same building. So unless the entire thing is vacant, something's going to always bring money in for it.
Incredible. And what about individuals who don't have the capital to necessarily buy into some of these properties? Are there financial partners that they could bring on? So if they have something off market, something that's interesting, maybe they could be part of it down themselves. But like you said,
Yeah.
there could be, a multi-use building and it could be, a really great asset. Do you find there's a lot of investors that are open to,
Yes.
collaboration?
I think there are a lot of people that are open to collaboration. There are. I mean, we have people all the time like, "Hey, can we buy some buildings with you guys?" And we just always say, "Listen, Bill and I personally, we just don't play well with others." We-
Okay.
it's like the downtown. They wouldn't let me do like Christmas in July like
Right.
3 years in a row. I'm like, "Okay, listen. Hallmark makes more money worldwide Christmas in July than they make an actual Christmas. So I'm gonna do without you guys." And so we tend to not play well with others unless they're like really like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. But if someone was like really super fresh and had nothing, you can always wholesale a house because Every house I wholesale. My last house I wholesale was a $450,000 house. I gave him a $10 deposit, signed the contract. I wholesaled it for 40 grand. The guy fixed it up and rehabbed and did whatever. I had $10 out of my pocket. So even if the whole deal fell apart, it was only out $10.
Mm.
Now, are you going to put $10 down on a $1 million house? Probably not. But I just say we typically give a $10 deposit. We'll close in 30 days. And they go, okay. And so I've got 50 students in Denver wholesaling houses like crazy people.
Mm.
If you're going to do anything bigger, either know, have the money, or have someone that knows what they're doing. Don't
Yep.
just on your own go, yeah, I'm going to go buy a bunch of storage units. Do
Sure.
you know anything about it? You need to take a class or learn from somebody or, something.
Yeah. We work with different funds. We work with different sponsors. We work with different companies that list their investment opportunities online. We'll work on the marketing side and target
Yes.
investors, advertising, outreach. Some of them around storage units and different opportunities. I find that is a better fit for individuals who are looking to get into the space. And this sounds
Yes.
like a next level where, hey, now they can be the one doing the buying and in smarter areas and with better incentives.
Yeah, and the thing is, like storage units, we own storage units. Actually, we own some storage units in Clinton, but you have a lot of baby boomers, people that are, well, I know I'm a baby boomer, but I'm like a generation Jones. There's a little mini micro 10-year generation where we weren't like part of the war and all that, but we were like too old for the hippies, and we were kind of just this little micro generation in there. And we were all in like the disco and all the fun stuff like that. But there are people that are retiring and they're downsizing and things that people, they want to store. They're like, oh, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to give it to one of my kids. And so there's like so many areas. If you have any area where there's a lot of retirement, storage units are super good for that because people will store all their stuff thinking when they die, their kids want it, and then their kids just come and just open up the storage unit, like, "Take whatever you want for free. I don't want any of this stuff anyway." And even like Florida is a good example. Like a lot of people retire in Florida. There's a lot of probate in Florida because Florida's the gateway to heaven, and so and people leave their kids' houses that live in California, New York, and Colorado. Like, well, it's this house. We just want to get rid of it. So I think sometimes you can look at areas and see maybe where there's more elderly, they're downsizing, maybe to a tinier house, probate, storage units are great. There's just I don't know. There's just not any one area that is not good. They're all
It all
fun.
goes up over time, and if you have revenue streams on top of it, even better. I like the stability around real estate.
Yeah,
We'll work with a tech company where their stock could go to zero. It could be a total loss for an investor, given
yeah,
they're playing for some pretty high multiples. But the compounding interest over time that you can see from the revenue streams and everything coming through on the appreciation and tax incentives, of course,
really.
it's no wonder so many people really position their portfolio around real estate.
So I tell someone if they're like really new and they have very little money, like they're paycheck to paycheck kind of people, I'm like, listen, why don't you wholesale like 3 houses? Maybe you make
Okay.
30 grand a house. Just put it in the bank. Don't pay off your bills. Don't pay off your car. Just put it in the bank. Now you got 90 grand. Now you could come to someone and say, "Hey, I have a little bit of money. What can we do with this?" And people are like, "Oh, I made 30 grand. I pay off all my credit cards. Oh, I'm gonna pay off a car." It's like, no. If you live in that budget anyway, accumulate some of the money and go to someone like you and say, "Hey, I've got 100 grand. What can I do with this that will make me more money than just wholesaling till the end of time?" Because as you know, with wholesaling, I mean, I've wholesaled over 1,000 deals, so I love it. I'm good at it. But when you take 6 months off, then no money coming in.
Sure.
So I always just tell people like, think about what you want. Do you want to make a job for yourself and it's yours because you're rehabbing or you're owning buildings? Is you're still involved in it. Or do you want to like put money into another fund? Like you just save money for a couple years and put it into funds and let the money work for you. Like, what is your big picture? And a lot of people are like, oh, we just want to buy a little fixer upper. It'll be fun. And I'm like, do you know how to rehab? No, we're gonna do it on the weekends. It'll be fun. And I'm like, until the
Just
third
watch
weekend. You'll work
shows.
You'll work 7 days because they watch too much HGTV. So you'll work all week. You'll go the first weekend. Look what we did. Second weekend, look what we did. Third weekend, oh, I'm sore. Let's just go Sunday. But by the end of 2 months, you won't go at all. And you could have just hired a contractor from day one and it'd be on the market already. Because, you watch HGTV and they fix up a house and they make 80 grand and it looks like it took 4 weeks. It's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that. I always tell people, like, stop watching television. Stop watching TV.
Okay. Well, I want to ask one more question before getting into our test optimized scale questions. What do you look for when evaluating a property? We talked about opportunity zones a bit, but what are some standouts to you when you're determining whether you want to make an investment?
Well, if it's a commercial building, and I learned this the hard way because Bill and I had never really bought a bunch of old buildings from like 1920. So our thought was like take off the ugly facade and restore them back to their beauty and the brick and make them look beautiful. Well, I didn't know all these buildings had these things called boilers. And a boiler is a big giant machine like the size of a van that's in the basement that heats up the whole building. Well, I didn't know. We looked, oh, yeah, this looks great. We'll buy this building. Well, the first winter, the boiler went out. You know how much a boiler costs? $60,000.
Huh.
And I was like, what? And then I found out the top floor had to be sprinklered. Do you know how much it costs to sprinkler? That 100 grand. I was like, oh my God, what have we done? So
This is adding
now
up.
I'm like, I want to see the roof. I wanna see the schematics, I wanna see if it's sprinklered, I wanna see boiler, I want something from the elevator company, I want all these things telling me these things are good, or I'm just hard passing, I'm not even gonna go past that. I need to because we've already had to replace 2 elevators, 2 boilers, couple roofs, and we're just like I mean, it's okay because we bought them, like, so cheap. Like, our first building is 20,000 square feet, and we only paid 35,000 for it. 'Cause a woman wanted to move. She'd already moved to Arizona. She just like, "Just take it. I'll just take it." And all the other ones, we got them super cheap, so it was okay, but we did not know a lot of those things, so I had a lot of surprises in the first 2 years. That's that especially with the boiler and the elevator, like, you gotta have the elevator every year, and if it doesn't, it's like 100 grand to get a new elevator, like, this is and everything's not like a $10 fix, it's a $100,000 fix, every single thing. So I was like, "Good lord." So, I would say if it's a new something, find someone that does that or ask
Yes.
me or ask you or something. If you're looking at, like, a single family home, you're gonna rehab it anyway, it doesn't really matter, just fix it up. Do you have my storage units? Make sure the doors and the locks and the foundation and you make sure all the stuff and, you know, how do people can they just swipe a credit card? Like, how do they pay? How do they get in? Is someone gonna manage it? Who's gonna shovel the snow in the wintertime? These are all things I never thought about till we had all these buildings. It's like, shoot, we have to have the yard cut, we gotta have snow removal, we need this. It's like there's so much stuff to do.
And if you haven't done it before, the deal may be very appealing, but then you could find yourself in all these pitfalls where if you're engaging experts, they're looking at it with you, telling you things you may encounter. Maybe you pass on the deal, but you're saving yourself a lot of headache, even losses down the line. So, yeah, definitely echo what you're saying.
And you know
And
what's funny, Jason? Because Bill
yeah,
and I have been investing 35 years each. So when we
okay,
started buying these buildings, this is about 7 years ago. We're like, listen, we've already done 2,000 deals. Like, how hard could it be? We're just gonna buy some buildings and go for it. We didn't call any of our friends that we know that teach that, other speakers in the country. We'll just do it. It'd be fun. This will be a fun venture. And we were just like, wow, there's so much to learn. Holy cow. So even if you think like this sounds like fun, please have somebody look at. I still would have bought all the buildings anyway because they were so cheap. But
sure.
that first boiler, it's like, oh, and then if it's not fixed in 7 days, the tenants don't have to pay rent. So we were buying space heaters and sending people pizza every day and trying to get a company to come from Chicago and they don't just show up the next day. And I mean, it was like, what? And it was, of course, happened in December when it was freezing because it's Clinton, Iowa, on the river. And it was like, wow, okay. That was fun.
And you don't know it unless you've been through it. You're a wealth of information. On the show, I like to package actionable insights for viewers, listeners, many of them founders, some of them investors in their own right. If they're launching a company, a very successful business owner beyond the most sought after investor in the US, what recommendations would you have for them? What could they test out towards the growth of their company? Whether it's, around real estate investments specifically or just towards, the linear progression of their entity. What are some things you would recommend towards other founders, investors who are tuned in?
The first thing I would say is actually get some education. I
Okay.
tell people all the time, you learn from mentors or mistakes, and mentors are cheaper.
Yep.
One big mistake, like a building with a $60,000 boiler and a $100,000 sprinkler, that could have put someone, they could have just had to walk away from the entire building. So I tell people, like, listen, but I also tell people this: there's a lot of people just like you, great marketers. A lot of people that are great marketers, and they come up with these programs, and they look like shiny objects. Like, oh my god, this is so great! I'm going to do that. And so it's like, look at the person that you're going to invest the time or the program with, and make sure they've actually done it, and they have history, and they know what they're doing. Don't just go to the shiny object person. And so get some education, and then if you wanna be, like, on the real estate side, learn a bunch of different things and see what you really like. Because a lot of things you'll do, like, you won't like. You'll do it and go, "Oh, this sounds like fun." Maybe "Why did I do that? I hate that." So, I think it's important to just, like, and, like, I've done subject twos, I've done rehabbing, I've done all of them, but honestly, my favorite thing is wholesaling because it's just
Mhm.
so easy. But now that I'm doing buildings, I like the restoration. I bringing them back to their glory. 'Cause they're just, it's like, "Oh god, these buildings, they're so beautiful." Now that they're, like, fixed up and the new windows and all the stuff. So, I find out that I actually like doing, restoration, which I would never have said that 5 years ago. I would have been like, "Rehab it and sell it."
Yeah. You're putting together whole towns, rejuvenation. So I imagine you have a lot of fun with the restoration and there's a satisfaction, a fulfillment there. What if a project's not working out? How do you optimize? How do you manage it to a point of effectiveness so you don't take a loss?
Well, I mean, if you have a project that is just a hardcore failing, I think sometimes you're better off to find someone to take it off your hands. Maybe if you lose a little money, then keep trying to fix it. Because sometimes you can keep
Okay.
trying, let me put more money in, more money in, more money in, and then you still can't fix whatever the issue is. And you put in that much more money, that much more time, that much more mental investment, and then you lose a bunch of money anyway. And there's no shame in getting into, like, say, a commercial building. There's no shame in getting into a building and realizing you're in over your head and just, offering maybe someone, "Hey, could you come in as a partner and help me fix this?" Maybe like a contractor type person. "Could you come and help me?" And or some investors and some money, and try to, find some people like-minded that might help you with whatever it is. And if it's just something that's not fixable, I tell people, listen, there's no shame in failure because as long as you learned a lesson, you didn't fail.
Mhm.
And I
Absolutely.
have
And I think very
failed, I've
sound
lost
advice.
money, and I look at every failure, it's like, okay, I just put something else in my book not to do again. I learn from my mistakes, and I only need to learn once. I'm a quick learner.
Yep. The same way you said mentors are cheaper than mistakes, being able to know when to cut your losses, put your time, put your energy, put your monetary resources to the next project could be far more beneficial than losing more sleep over it. What
It
about
does.
scaling? You talked about all of these different properties in Iowa and nationwide. How do you go from 1 to 28? How do you go from 28 to higher numbers? What does that look like?
I think once I mean, if you're buying, let's just say you're buying single family homes, and once you get to like 4 or 5, it's easy to get to 10. I think the battle is doing, well, first of all, it's people taking the first step because, as you know, with marketing, people say, "Oh, I want to market to investors," and I've been mailing postcards, you're like, "Hey, listen, we're gonna do this." As it's hard to get people to take the first step because people are afraid. They're afraid of failure, they're afraid of, all the things that they're afraid of. So the first thing is getting people to take the right step. And then the second thing is get people to understand, like, let me tell you, I am telling you, from 35 years and seeing thousands of people lose millions of dollars during oh 08, 9, 10. I mean, I know people that lost $50 million because they were so over leveraged on commercial, giant apartments. It's like, don't over leverage yourself. Get a little education. Start slow. Dip your toe in the water of a few things. And when you find something that you're just like, hey, I really love this, then go for it. You don't have to be good at everything. You just have to like the thing you're good at.
Yeah. And the path becomes that much more clear to you once you're seeing the success and seeing the returns, seeing the numbers, seeing that it's favorable for you. You're trying to buy as much as you can at that point.
Yeah, and I'm all for people like, hey, get a couple single family homes, maybe get a duplex, maybe get like a little 10-plex. Like if that's your interest on that side, but like don't just go in with we're gonna buy 100 apartment because this guy's done it before. It's like that's too big of a jump. Like
Mhm.
don't you gotta have,
Calculated.
you have to have a high risk factor to
Yeah.
be an investor. But you gotta make sure your high risk factor is not like ridiculously off the chart that you don't have a little bit of caution and if that deal doesn't work, there's always another deal. If that deal doesn't pan out, there's another deal. Like, there's a million deals.
You probably get a lot of deal flow coming across your desk on a daily basis. Uh,
So many people.
America's most sought after investor. Is there a story behind that as well too? I have to ask. It's such a great title.
Okay, well, you know what? When I started investing, it was like 1990. So the internet came out like 98. And way back then, I was wholesaling a lot of properties. And then one deal particular, I was gonna make 5 grand on. This is like in the night. I was gonna make 5 grand, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the bank sent me the HUD and the closing statement, and they tacked on like $4,000 in fees. And I was like, oh my God. Because when you're like a broke single mom, you need the whole 5,000. So I called them up. I was like, listen, I need you to take those fees off. They weren't on there last week. I'm not gonna be able to close. And just like that, they took these fees off. So I thought, okay. I'm gonna start asking every bank to take out fees. And then one thing led to another, and I started doing short sales. And before they were called short sales, it was still called like discounting, shorting it, shorting the note, whatever. And I wrote the very first little investor training program for short sales. And then I trademarked the term short sales. So I have the registered trademark on the term short sales as it applies to real estate investing. So I used to be the queen of short sales. And then I went to and I'll give credit to I don't know if you know James Malinchak. He was on that show, The Secret Millionaire, where they like drop these
Yeah.
millionaires in these little towns. Okay, he was on there, and I happened to know him, and he invited me and my husband to come to a bunch of his things. And he said something that just stuck with me. He said, "You need to give yourself a tag. And even if it's not exactly like you're speaking it into existence." So when I met James, he said he was the top speaker, the number one motivational speaker in Las Vegas. Well, I'm like, wow, motivational speaker in Las Vegas, that's pretty great. But I didn't know him, so I just believed the title. So I thought, well, I don't want to be known as a short sale queen because short sales are sort of in and out of favor. I said, I need something bigger. So I thought about it for a couple of months. I'm like, I'm going to tag myself, Dwan Bent Twyford, America's most sought after real estate investor. And I trademarked it. And then people were like, they'd go, wow, you're America's most sought after real. Seriously? Will you be on my show? Will you teach it? Will you mentor me? And it all came from sitting at a workshop of full of entrepreneurs and teaching us like how to brand ourselves better. So I did the
Yeah.
Dwanderful, I did the pink hair, I made the tagline and trademarked it. And so, am I the most sought after investor? In my mind, I am.
Yes.
Am I the top investor ever? Probably not, but that's okay. I'm the best at what I do. So I gave myself a tag phrase
As a
because
marketer, I love it.
I went to
Every
a
aspect of it.
thing with 500, no, 1,000
Yep.
entrepreneurs, and mostly about branding. I'm like, okay, pink hair, wonderful, sought after investor. I feel like that's a good brand for me. Boom, and it all
Memorable.
came together, and now we are all these years later. So,
Again, really
like,
respected as a marketer. It
went to
is
a
the brand
workshop.
name.
with
The
someone that knows
positioning.
more than I do. Like how
Yep.
I was talking about you. You know what I do about marketing. And it was a branding thing. And I walked out of there going, oh, I've got 5 things I'm going to do right now. I'm getting rid of my black hair, I'm changing to this, I'm doing that, I'm getting the tag. Boom.
And here you are. And looking at the portfolio, looking at the student base, looking at client base, everything that's going on, that branding, that positioning paid out. And Dwan, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast. As we begin to wrap up, anyone who's tuned in that would like to get in contact with you or learn more, where's the best place for them to go? And what's a final statement, final note you want to leave us with today?
Well, thank you for that. And thanks for asking about the wonderful thing. Because when you were talking about like you guys do marketing, you need to be known as like the best.
Yes.
So there's got to be a company, there's got to be a name, there's got to be something, there's got to be something around it. People go, oh, Jason's better than this guy because of your branding and whatever you guys do. So that was fun. Um, Tell me the question again.
Best place to go for
Oh,
the
yes.
audience to learn
Sorry.
more.
I had a senior moment. Dwanderful.com. If they go to my website, dwanderful.com, a little thing will pop up and there's a really short real estate quiz I put together. And it will kind of show people like what they're interested in, what they're not interested in. It kind of give them a little idea of like maybe where they'd like to go in investing. And they fill the little quiz out, either myself personally or my husband personally. We'll call and talk to people for like 10 or 15 minutes and just say, hey, we want to introduce ourselves. Thank you for filling out the quiz. If you want to get involved, we offer the whole shebang. And I
And
think for
definitely
my
encourage
parting
everybody
word,
to do that. I think that's a very warm invitation and something everyone should take you up on.
and we do call, and people will go, oh my God, is this Dwan? And I'm like, yeah, I can't believe you're calling me. It's like, well, you filled out my flyer. I've got 5 minutes for everybody. I'm not so bougie. I can't talk to people, but they're always shocked because they're like, is this serious? And I'm like, if you've listened to my podcast, you know my voice is always just saying it's definitely me.
Not
And then they're
AI.
like so excited. And I'm just like, hey, come and be in my universe with me. And I think for my parting thing, having been training for 25 years at this point, and in front of some very big, like I spoke at the Learning Annex in front of 10,000 people, up on like Tony Robbins was on that stage. I was on that stage, Robert Kiyosaki, and having talked to little groups of 25 or 30 people, the thing I find consistently over the decades is people are afraid to take the first step. They say things like, I need to get my website. I need to get my LLC. I need to get my cards. And then you see them in a year, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm still working on whatever. And I think people need to just say, you know what? I don't need any of that. I just need to take the first step. Because once you take the first step, and if you fail and you're 6 foot tall, at least you're 6 feet ahead of where you were. So just fail forward and
Fail
stop
forward.
procrastinating. Stop procrastinating. I can't see on people that are like 2 years later, oh, I'm still working on it. It's like, do you know how much money you could have made in the last 2 years? Like, what's wrong with you?
I speak to founders, investors every day where, yes, it's the same conversation we had 6 months, 2 years before. And if they had been building their audience, if they had been in putting chips on the table during that period of time, their present
Look
would
how
look
much they
much
would have
different.
grown
Yeah.
in 2 years. You see people just like that. Think what if they would have started working with you 2 years ago. Think where they'd be today.
Mhm.
So I'm like, stop being afraid. I mean, everything is scary. Going on a date is scary. Getting married is scary. Having kids is scary.
Oh, yeah.
Going in traffic these days is scary. I mean, I go for hikes in the woods. There's bear around here. Hiking in the woods is scary. But you just have to do it. And people, I don't understand. I just in my mind, I don't understand why people won't just take the first step. It's just I'm not that person, and I hear people giving me all these excuses. I'm like, but I heard those from you a year ago. I don't understand how you could have that much fear. Are you not more afraid of being stuck working for someone or working till you die? That's what I would be afraid of.
Agreed.
So,
Take that first step, fail forward. It's going to lead to better things. Your learnings are going to become more valuable. Dwan,
yeah,
thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I've put together 2 pages of notes here, actually going through it with my team. Uh, not all of our episodes are speaking with an investor directly. So to be able to hear how you think, what you look at for these projects, where you've seen success, how you've built partnerships, how you've gone to these workshops and able to build your brand and launch everything that you're doing, it's beyond insightful. So can't tell you how much I
Well, thank you
appreciate it.
so much, Jason. I take that to heart. So thank you. I accept those kind words.
I mean it. I mean it. Feel like I could talk to you for hours. But thanks again. Want to thank everybody for tuning in as well. Get in
Thanks, everyone.
contact with Dwan, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.